What's up, y'all? Welcome to another episode of the Six Figure Vet Podcast, where we share the success stories of veterans that have successfully unlaced the boots. Be sure to subscribe to our podcast on all streaming platforms and give us a follow on the gram at the Six Figure Vet.
I'm a
Let's go.
six-figure vet, self-made, self-built, didn't stop, dedicated, stay down till I came up, that's patience. Dreaming to goals to plans to execution.
What's up, y'all? Welcome to another episode of the Six Figure Vet Podcast. Y'all know we're still going strong for Women's History Month, and what better way to celebrate than to honor a veteran-owned, woman-owned, Black-owned company that has taken the fashion industry by storm by creating a lane specifically to a plethora of women. Now, TJL Collection is a woman's fashion brand exclusively for our tall girlies. They have been featured in Essence, NY Mag, ABC, and ESPN. TJL is a woman's brand focused on building confidence for women who are overlooked and underdeserved in fashion. It is with a great pleasure I introduce to you Navy veteran, mother, wife, mentor, and the CEO and founder of TJL Collections, Miss Tiffany Jones-Lewis, y'all. Hey, Tiff.
Hey girl, thank you for the introduction.
Yes, yes, yes. We got to give you them flowers, child. We got to give you them
Thank
flowers.
you.
How
I'm
are you
excited
doing?
to be here.
It is such an honor to have you. Listen, I have been rooting for you from afar, and it is so exciting to finally get you on the podcast and get your story. But I always like to start the podcast with doing a mental check in. So, how are you doing today?
Today is a good day. I'm figuring out balance, which I don't know if that's a real thing, but it's working today somehow.
Okay. Yeah. And you know what? You are, like I stated in the intro, you are a mother, a wife, a business owner, a fashion designer. So we're definitely going to touch on how you keep it all together later on in this podcast. Cause your girl needs some tips. Cause I'm struggling. Like my edges is gone, child.
I'll be a mess some days, but we can talk about that later.
Okay. So Tiffany, I know that you're from Tennessee, right?
hmm
Okay, give us a little backstory about who Tiffany was before she became this fashionista, fashion designer, and before the military.
So I grew up in Memphis, Tennessee. And I always love fashion. So my aunts, my great aunt, my grandmother, like they all my family's tall and like kind of into like crafty stuff. So I always kind of was around people who did hair, did nails. Like my family was just like it girls. They just kind of always did things themselves.
Yes.
And so I grew up in that type of space, and then um, I always wanted to go to fashion school, but honestly, like my mom, she wasn't wrong. She kind of felt like it wasn't a promising career. I didn't really have a plan either. Like TJL wasn't even a thought. I just knew that like I wanted to design, and I always thought that I would end up working for a company as a designer, like a New Yorker company or Gap or something like that as an internal employee. I never really grew up thinking about doing something on my own.
Wow. So it sounds like your family history is all about creative spaces like within fashion, and I like how you said that the women in your fashion, within your family were it girls. I love
Yes,
that. I love
yes,
that because
yeah,
I feel like
nails and hair, braiders. They just did my cousins could braid my hair, my other cousin could do my nails. Everybody either went to cosmetology school or it's just something like that. So I don't know. I think that kind of helps you learn to like take care of yourself in a way, and I'm really
yes.
big on that.
Yes. Yes. So it sounds like self care has been a part of your regimen since a young age.
Yeah, yeah.
You had a degree before joining the military, correct?
No, so I was in college, my
Okay.
junior year, and I had this little project, and it was like find a couple of courses to apply to, for your senior year coming up, whatever, what type of jobs you would want. And when I was hunting for jobs, I still really didn't know what I wanted to do. It took me a while to kind of figure that part out. And so I went to a recruiter like after that, and I talked to a recruiter, and I was like, I'm just joining the military. So I joined, I finished my senior year active duty.
Oh,
Um,
wow.
so I finished my last year of college online. So that's kind of how that happened.
So what recruiter did you automatically go to the Navy first?
hmm I went to the Navy, and God is so funny. I never wanted to go to the service. My sister wanted to go to the service, and I'm older than her. So when she started saying that some years before, maybe 2 or 3 years before, I was like, no, I'm going to recruiter with you because you're not going to talk to this recruiter. Nobody in my family ever left Memphis, and definitely nobody went to the military. So it was kind of a taboo in my family
Oh,
for
wow.
someone to be joining the service. And they weren't really happy when I joined, but because I took my sister, I listened because I was listening out for her. And I don't know, something about it kind of was like late, like years later, I was like, maybe I'll just go, go do that. And she never joined, but I did. And I was the first person to join, the first person to leave. I don't know. I just kind of decided I'm finna leave.
So when you did decide that you were gonna leave and you decided to go to the Navy, what was your plan? Were you like, okay, I'm gonna just do my fort and I'm gonna get out, or were you like, I'm gonna try to retire? Like, what was your mindset when you did decide when you did leave?
I don't think I didn't plan to retire, but I also didn't plan to leave. I just wanted to see. I'm a very curious person. I'm very exploratory, so I guess I just felt like I just want to see where they send me. I want to travel. I want to see other places. I just want to go. I didn't have a plan. I just knew I didn't have a job waiting for me in Memphis either. So I just wasn't sure, but I was okay with just figuring it out too.
Right. Right. So what was your deciding factor on getting out since you didn't like have a set plan when you first went in? What made you be like, okay, I'm about to get out?
Around year 6, I think I kind of learned like I didn't like the culture of it for my personality. I think I had discovered more of who I was. Um, I was a little bit more clear on my skill sets and things like that. So more of it was like I just don't like this job anymore. So I got out after 8 years, but it mainly was because I didn't enjoy the culture of it. I need an identity. I realized that about myself too. And going back to like my family, I missed hair and nails, and I've done everything possible to my hair from perm to cutting it to braids, not my size or shave. So I kinda need that for my identity, and I think I realized that along the way. So it was more so about like discovering myself and figuring out like because that to me that's how I need to show up is myself.
Right.
I just didn't like the culture of it anymore.
And it's really hard to show up as your authentic self in uniform
It
because it's
is.
almost like they like discourage you to do that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you can't have a personality, I realized. And yeah, I think it just sums up like the whole culture of it all. Like the uniform, the way people think,
Yeah.
the nepotism in there, just everything. So I just didn't like it anymore. And I said, it's just time for me to go.
Right. And then not to mention the consequences if you choose not to conform.
Yes. And that's just something I couldn't do. I still was young. I mean, I'm still fairly young, but younger than what I am now. But I also like I didn't have no kids, no husband. I was like, I'm still exploring life.
Right.
I don't need the stress of this. That's how I looked at it, and I always felt like because it was just me, I'm free to do something else. Like I wanted to explore and do things before, I had the children and all of that, because now it's much harder to just quit a job. But
Yeah.
I just felt like it was time.
What did you take from the military that you were able to apply to your business?
Sometimes you don't even realize how much you absorbed in 8 years, until like it's time to apply it. But I definitely feel like I'm very direct and outspoken about things that I like and don't like. I think I picked that up probably along the way, just being able to speak up for myself in a professional way. I also think I took just being able to work with multiple people in different capacities because um civilians can fire people. We kind of can't. You kind of gotta just work with what you got unless it's something super drastic.
Mm-hmm.
And I
Yep.
kind of learned to like just work with people and figure things out and stuff like that. So I think that's probably the most important thing. Like I'm not one way of thinking when it comes to people. I try to find skill sets and things that work for what I need.
Makes sense. So I know that you said that the women in your family were, they taught you a lot about self care and they all had some type of creativity, whether it's hair or nails or craftiness. But what made you fall in love with the fashion and say, you know what, I want to be a fashion designer?
I always So I started sewing in high school. Like I
Okay.
always like making stuff. That's never changed. I always had a little sewing machine and like to make curtains and put stuff together. The thing I think that really drove me though is because I was so tall and I wanted to shop. I wanted to like buy everything everybody else was wearing. It just never fit. And I always
Mm-hmm.
felt like I was not fashionable, not because I didn't have the creativity, but because I couldn't fit the pieces. Like when everybody was wearing whatever, baby fat or whatever, those were always too short for me. And when everybody was wearing, whatever it was always too short for me. And shorts was always too short and skirts was always too short. And I got looked at as being inappropriate, but I just had really long legs. And
Right.
I just didn't like that. I wanted to wear what everybody else was wearing. And my mom, she would like give me like bigger jeans at the plus size section, like try to take the waist in, and they were like baggy and bulky, and or I wore men's clothes, just whatever fit, and I couldn't stand that growing up. So I think that just drove me to like keep creating at least pants. For like years, all I made was bottoms. I didn't make a jacket. I didn't make nothing. I just made bottoms
Wow.
because I just wanted to wear pants, like and be stylish with it, I guess.
Makes sense. So you being a tall girl and you start making your own clothes. What made you say, okay, you know what? I'm making these clothes for me. I want to make clothes for other tall girlies.
So after I left the Navy, I started working for the Marine Corps, and I guess like for a office job, I probably was a little extra. I didn't feel like I was, but I was probably a more extra than most people in the office. Meaning like I would wear some purple slacks with like a shirt instead of gray and black. I just always loved color.
Mm-hmm.
And what I was wearing to work started becoming a topic of conversation at the job, like what Miss Jones was wearing and stuff at the time. And my Marines, they used to just be like, "Oh, you fly, you fly." So we started like posting the outfits, like looks of the day online. And I was
Mm-hmm.
like, my office look today. And a lot of tall girls, 'cause I will always put something about my height in the caption, like, when you 6'1", you have to make your own pants, whatever. And they would be like, "Can you make me one too?" So I started just taking little custom orders for other women, and eventually it got to be too much. And my husband was like, "Well, I think maybe you should consider like making a business out of this and doing something with it." Because again, my whole goal was never to be an entrepreneur. I wasn't like in the mindset of like I got to be my own boss. It just kind of happened, and more tall women started finding me, and they started asking, so I started doing it. That's really what it was. They just wanted me to duplicate what I was making for myself.
Yeah. And you didn't even realize it, but there was a high demand for something and you was the supplier.
Yeah, eventually I had to find a manufacturer because I got pregnant with my daughter, and just sitting for hours just got to be too much. But eventually I think that's the only way for you to scale anyways, to just kind of let someone else do the thing. But um I found a manufacturer eventually, and they started producing stuff for me. And so I just kind of went from being a seamstress more to like running the company and figuring out ways to like make it flow more efficiently.
Right. And Tiffany, my favorite part of your story, that's it is so motivational, I guess, to me, because you hear about these stories where people be like, oh, I took my last and I started and I made this empire. I saw you post one time that you took your 401k from the military to actually
Mm-hmm.
jumpstart TJL. Walk us through that, okay? Because that is a big step.
It is. So, I mean, I'm grateful my husband always has had a stable job. I'll say that. Because I think sometimes we don't like to admit when you have some support to keep you grounded. Um, I had support to keep me grounded, and so we live very frugal so that I could kind of figure things out for a little while. And so, I took my 401k and I put it into like making samples, and you're just finding a factory to work with and stuff like that. And that was good for a little while. But then I needed to like buy in bulk, like some big bulk. And so I actually went and got a business loan. It was I think $13,000 for like a startup loan. I got like a micro loan. And I made my first purchase order, which was 7 grand, around 7 grand. And UPS lost my package.
Girl.
I didn't have any insurance at the time because I didn't know anything about it, or it was just too expensive, because I wasn't making that much money. So I didn't have any insurance, and they eventually couldn't find it after putting, all these investigations in and stuff like that. And so I went back to the factory and I ordered the same thing again, another 7 grand. And the shipper damaged the box. It was just all completely a washout. And then I was just like, okay, God, you don't want me to do this business. I'm done, because this got to be a fine. And it was really, really hard because I was paying back a loan on money I wasn't receiving, because I didn't
Yeah.
have no product or anything like that. And my dear husband, he was looking for funding for me. Like, you gotta get up, and figure this thing out. And so he sent me a link to a veterans pitch competition. And I applied the last day, right before the cutoff. I think the cutoff was at noon. And I remember being on the phone with my mom around 10. And I was like, I don't want to do this. This is because you have to submit a pitch deck. And I had never done a pitch deck or anything like that. I didn't even know what it was. I Googled it. I found some template, and I just kind of, moved some stuff around from what the person had on their template to mine. And I think I submitted maybe around 11:30, right before the cutoff.
And it was due at
Um,
12?
it was due at 12. Yep. And they had almost 1,000 submissions, and they picked 3 people, and I was one of the people they picked. I couldn't believe it. And I pitched I pitched in my first pitch competition. That competition I won 15 grand. That money got me back in the clear again. So I was able to pay my loan off and start over.
Yeah.
And that's what kind of drove me to like keep going financially, because I pretty much lost everything that I had gained. And then like the money I pulled from my 401k, that was just to like get the website. There wasn't really inventory money. That was to get the website, get the logos, get the branding done. So it wasn't much money left for a bunch of inventory, and then sampling costs thousands of dollars. just finding the right factory and getting the fit right and stuff like that. So it takes a lot to just start a fashion brand. Um, so I needed funding, like to really buy enough stuff to actually sell.
You know what, Tiffany? There's this book called You're a Badass, I believe. It's by
Mhm.
Jean Cicero.
Mhm.
And in this book, she talks about the big oops. Like right
Mhm.
before you have like this major crazy breakthrough, some crazy shit happens.
Mhm.
You lose a package to your fashion brand, then something else happens, or you're on your way to this important meeting to do something, and then you end up in a car accident, or
Mhm.
something crazy happens. But um and I'm pretty sure you've seen the meme where it's like, if you don't stop digging, because you might, as soon as you stop, that's when you missed your goal.
Mhm. Mhm.
And that's, if that's not the epitome of that story, like, how how are you able to even find, well, you just kind of explained it with the pitch deck, and I definitely want to go into that. You talk a lot about grants,
Mhm.
and you're always posting, you winning these competitions for your grants. But I think, how did you, once your husband sent you that first one, how did you begin the process of researching more and more grants to fund your business?
So my pitch competition, which was my first one, which was the scariest one. Um, my pitch coach, Erin, I'll forever love her. She told me like you gotta keep going with this because you pitch really well. And again, I didn't know nobody that was entrepreneurs. I dang sure didn't know anyone who um was using outside funding and non-dilutive funding, meaning funding you don't have to pay back. I didn't know anybody that was doing anything like that, but my pitch coach, she believed in me so much, and she was telling me like this is a common thing. They're out there. You just gotta look. And so mainly she kind of really set a little fire in me to start doing some research and digging for them and figuring out where does this money come from, who has it, and why don't specifically African American people have access to it.
Or why we don't
um
know about this stuff?
that too. But it just started putting me in a different space of like, it didn't matter the industry. I wanted to just help people in business uh learn about it, or just be curious about it enough to research, because a lot of it is just quick Google searches. And but because we don't know to look, because I didn't know to look.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
Right.
I used my own money. I didn't apply for anything when I first started. And all I thought was I had to go to a bank and get a loan, So I think that's really what it was that kind of really opened my eyes up and had me considering like maybe I can do this. And she encouraged me enough to let me know I could duplicate it over and over again.
Right. And you're constantly promoting, like you said, not only fashion but doing good business, from getting the grants and learning about pitches to, my favorite, utilizing the money smartly. I've
Mhm.
seen you post a couple times like, listen, when you get this grant money, don't go out here and spend $5,000 on a social media manager.
Mhm. Mhm.
Right. um Talk to us about what makes a business run smoothly and some good practices to have while you're building your empire.
I mean, I'm still building, and I still feel like I have so much more I want to attack. But I think over the past few years, and last year I won almost $100,000 in grants, so in pitches and stuff. But what I think I have learned is like a good plan. I think a lot of us are similar to me, where we have a hobby to a business. Um, and you may be a great baker. You may be great at it, but that's a hobby. It's not a
Mhm.
business until you can really learn the numbers and understand how your business actually operates. A lot of times I've been in pitch competitions and people have amazing products, but they lose when they can't answer questions that investors or people are asking. And it always boils down to, what is your cost? What does it cost you to make it? What's your addressable market? Um, and I tell African American women, really when people of color, period, but specifically African American people, because I'm from, the deep south. So I get how we think. We have this like hustle thing, and I think it's beautiful. Because ain't nobody probably gonna outwork me, not in what I'm doing.
Right.
But nobody really cares either. And I had to really learn that if you don't actually know your business, meaning what type of model do you have? How do you truly make money? People can't explain it, especially in service-based companies. They can't really explain how money comes in and how money goes out, and what their profit margins are. For people in business to truly understand, okay, this is a profitable thing. Um, we like to be talk about passion and grit, and that's great, but it doesn't explain the business well. And that's
Right.
that's what I would say to learn. It's like learn your business knowledge. Like learn. I have a girlfriend. She's a baker, and I helped her really itemize like how much is each one of these brownies costing you. Like how much flour is go like how much does each brownie cost? And when you really break down like, oh snap, this thing cost me $2.50 a brownie or whatever, and I'm selling it for $2.75, I'm making nothing. You get what I'm
Basically, yeah.
saying? Like,
Mhm.
but you can't like really put your finger on why you're not feeling like you're profiting somehow. Um so if I would say anything that I've learned with getting funding, grant funding and writing grants and stuff, is to like really truly understand how you make money.
Within your business.
Yes, absolutely.
There are tons of startup African American owned businesses, right?
Mhm.
And like you said, a lot of times we start these projects or we try to turn these hobbies into businesses straight off
Mhm.
passion.
Mhm.
And you also said something that really resonated with me. Like you said, we just don't know where to search. And
Mhm.
when I became a life coach and I started helping veterans transition out, one of the reasons why I started doing that was because there's so much information for veterans, for veteran owned businesses, for
Mhm.
disabled veterans
Mhm.
that we don't know about.
Mhm.
So it's like we got a chest full of gold and riches, but we ain't got the key to it, and we don't know how to utilize or get into it or utilize any of these things because we just don't know how. It's like, how am I supposed to utilize something if I don't even know it exists?
And I mean, curiosity, maybe that's my driving force too. I get curious about things. I even look and say, "Yeah, are there things for vets? Like, I'm a veteran. Let me see what, that's kind of how I am. And I know
Mm-hmm.
everyone's not like that, but if if you want to go back to business, unless you have the money,
Right.
but a lot of us don't, like I didn't. I started looking for how to get it. How do I get the money? Where do I find the money? Or asking people, like you have all these free resources, not even just veteran things, but SCORE, which are local to almost all cities or all states at least. Um, free veteran resource, whatever. I'm a researcher. That's what I do. So me
I think if you
personally,
really
you
want to
gotta
be
be
successful
curious
in business, you have to be a researcher, especially when you ain't
to
got
a
the funds up front.
capacity.
Right.
Yeah, but there are people, well, and let's be honest, there are people, because I work with the college too. There are people in business who are taught business very well. Now they may not have passion projects like we do.
Mhm.
But they're CEOs who's brought into companies right out of Harvard or right out of entrepreneur school, and they may be leading a company that's not theirs exactly. They just may be leading it, but that also lets you know that you still should take some time to learn some things, because if they can come in and take over and lead without it being a passion project, then that should explain something to you that we have. Because I was at this pitch competition. I was just attending this little private investors thing that someone invited me to the year before last. I seen it was a white male, but I seen a white male pitch his business. He had these prototypes for these um kind of like vending machines that made like power bowls, and the machine kept the food hot. And he didn't have he had like one prototype, but anyway, it wasn't even really a business yet. I seen a man. This is the God on the truth. Write him a check for $500,000 right
Girl.
there on the spot, and he was trying to fundraise a meal, 2 meal or something. He put 500,000 up, and he pledged another 500,000 for after they finished everything, right out of college, right? So they taught him pitching, they taught him debts, they taught him financial, all in school. So that's not a lot of us though, right? Because we
Right.
got the passion. But somewhere in the middle, you gotta realize, like, I gotta learn some of what these guys are doing so I can
Mhm.
compete on their
Yep.
level.
Yeah.
Um, and that's where a lot of times we have to take the hustle street side out and come up to their standard, because they get money
Yeah.
consistently, and I see it
Mhm.
all the time. And it's not always because we black. Sometimes it is, yes, but it's not always. It's because we don't be knowing what the hell we doing,
Yeah.
and we can't explain what you're gonna do with the money very clearly enough. Like, if I
Yeah.
gave you this, what are you gonna do with it? Where is it gonna go? And how you gonna flip it back so I can make my money back? That's all. That's the one and easy way to get money. But it's a complicated question for a person who doesn't know the ins and outs of their business.
Right. So that's the first thing you need to learn is the ins and the outs of your industry and your own business.
As you're building, have a good grasp of things. Um, But like I say, a lot of us go from passion pro. A lot of us, like me, I was just sewing and people came to me. So I wasn't thinking about business. I was
Right.
just like, well, shoot, I'll just make some more. And I never started understanding how much this fabric is costing, and the shipping costs, and the packaging, and why am I not seeing a profit turn? Because I bought these super cute bags and put all this stuff in here, and it cost me another $5. And then you really realize, like, oh shoot, I'm burning through cash like crazy.
And Tiff, I love how transparent you are with your journey of becoming this amazing businesswoman and fashion designer. And you're so transparent with your journey. Why is it so important to you to be in love with the process?
I just think that, like, again, coming from Memphis, like, my family is super blunt. I didn't realize that till I got married to my husband. I was like, oh shoot, I come from like a super direct family, and I just like people. I just like real people. I think I connect to people in a different way than most, and I find it important, if we're honest, people can last longer. That's the truth, because I think people think it's overnight. And I read somewhere that said what people see as overnight was 10 years. Like,
I
your
saw that.
overnight to them is 10 years to you, because it took that long. And if we don't talk about every step of the journey and the process, it doesn't help anybody else. And it sure as heck didn't help me, because I didn't have nothing but podcasts of white males talking about how, how they had $150,000 to start up their companies, and I'm like, well, where is anybody getting that? Because I ain't got that type of money. And you'll watch shows, even similar shows on TV, and they'll make you feel like if your business is 4 years or 5 years old, it's just leave it alone. Nobody cares. It didn't work, and it may take that long just to get going for
Right.
most people.
Mm-hmm.
um I didn't want a false narrative, and I definitely didn't want it to come from me. That, it's hard sometimes. But I believe in what I'm doing, so no matter what, I always like end it with like, I'm just gonna keep going. But yeah, it was really hard today. Like, today sucks. Now I wish someone would say that.
Especially with the internet and social media, we see these 24-hour highlights of people's lives, and we don't see the destruction that's going on behind the scenes to create, to the pressure that's making these diamonds. We're not able to see that. We just see the diamonds.
Hmm.
So
And two, I think I've been in enough accelerators and pitch competitions in this last year to know, like, you'll see people's business, and peers. I don't mean like people you really aspire to be, but I mean like peers you may see, and I'll pitch, and I'm like, oh, they made, less than 100,000, and I'm 5 times that, and you kind of realize, like, people lie too. People glamorize things. People aren't really making money, aren't living off that. They aren't profitable yet. It just looks really good, which is fine too, but it's not real. It's just not real.
what was your most pivotal moment within your fashion career?
Um, I think outside of like finding money to fund it, which we've talked enough about, probably really learning my audience well, and I'm still learning that, but like really getting to know my customers. For my industry, you have different industries. You have industries that people know very well and takes little explaining. Then you have some industries that like need some explanation on the industry to people, like education on it. In my case, my industry needed a little educating in a way, mainly because the option wasn't there before. So now you're providing it, and I think I naively thought like, oh, when so and so see this, she gonna shop right away, and that wasn't the case at all. People had a lot of mistrust with shopping online. They didn't know the fit. They didn't know the fabric quality. They was hesitant to spend money for a long time. Um, so my pivotal moment was understanding my marketing way versus someone else's marketing path, and
Hmm.
taking advantage of like what I needed to do to market the best.
And that's so unique that you said that, because when I first saw TJL, when you first started posting about it, I'm like, oh, sister and crack the code. Like, tall girl fashion, this is uncharted territory. This is amazing. But for you to say people were hesitant about it, but I mean, I guess I understand it because, as a tall girl, you've went through that your whole life where things did not fit correctly. So you're asking me to spend money with you and I ain't tried this on
Mhm.
yet? What?
Mhm. I just taught another class, and I talked to them about their marketing budget. And I said I was gonna go live on Facebook to talk about this too. If you're marketing, when you have a startup, and just say you have 15 grand, most of us don't put marketing in our plan. We divvy out money to everything but marketing.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Mainly because we passionate, and we think everybody else gonna be just passionate too. And they can be eventually, but we gotta have a plan for it. And I learned that lesson myself, because I was like, oh, the minute they see it, they're gonna be passionate too. But that was not it. And that's a lot of us. And if you can look at brands, I got really curious. Again, me, I'm curious. I'm a curious person. crumbles started taking off, and I read that they was franchising like 50 crumbles like a week and all over the US at one point. And I was like, what is going on with these cookies? So I got to looking at into the founders. I always do that, like big companies like Olipop, and like I'm like, what is making these things so popular? So I got to looking at Crumble's founders. They're not even bakers. They don't even bake.
What?
They're cousins. One works in tech. One has a marketing background. That's why the stuff slap.
Yes.
That's why the colors look like how they look, and that's why. And so I say that to say, they make crumble look really damn good, and you want them. You know. And his thing was like, we made it Instagrammable, where people wanted to tag, where people. So
Yeah.
when I get that, they gave me such aha moments. And I was like, Instagrammable things people want to post things. So I changed my packaging too. So now every time people get the bags, it says for tall by tall. People tag me in the bags alone. Like, just got this from TJL. That one little switch, that one little thing start changing conversation around the brand. I changed my hang tags for what they said, and people tag me in that. But the point is, whatever that is within your brand, finding ways to make people connect with you somehow. They bake their cookies on the outside for everybody to see. So it's no behind the scenes baking. They're mixing, they're showing you everything. And when I listened to like their mind behind the marketing, the cookies was secondary. And there's many founders, and even the founder of Sunbomb, the reason he made that cool little monkey or gorilla they have and like the corkscrew looking stuff is the marketing. And I think if we could take a lot from that, we can see that that needs to be a priority, not
Yeah.
everything else. But a lot of times we do that secondary. We do marketing secondary, meaning like you order all these clothes, like boutique girls. They call me all the time. They order all this stuff, but they like ain't nobody shopping because the marketing plan of how you were actually gonna roll these pieces out was never there. You thought your phone was enough. You thought there was enough, and it's not for people to bite. um and we all learn those hard lessons.
Right. And sometimes they're expensive.
It is expensive. Marketing budgets are very expensive, but if you do it right, it will pay you back later.
Right. And I heard, and I know you just mentioned, you having to find your and still finding your footing within marketing. How do you stay true to your design philosophy when trends are changing, especially when it comes to marketing?
For me, I try to do timeless pieces anyway, because my customers are building wardrobes. I had learned that, like, they don't have jeans, they don't have yoga pants, they don't have things people is used to getting. So we build closets together. That's what I always say. And we
Love
start
that.
with our casuals and our basic dresses, and then we can build a wardrobe together. So that's what I'm doing with TJL, because people don't have those basic things first. But also, I work with a lot of cool brand ambassadors. That's been my marketing strategy. I run ads and stuff too. Don't get me wrong. I use TikTok and Instagram, but mainly my brand ambassadors who have personalities and style.
How do you balance being a
Mhm.
mother, wife, fashion designer, and a businesswoman?
Um, I don't know if I've mastered that yet at all, but I think lately I've been learning. I met this lady, and at this conference like a year or so ago. I think no, it must have been 2 years ago, because I had just had the twins. And she was talking, and she was a mom, and I was like, "How do you do it? I got three toddlers, my kids 3 under 3. I don't know if I can keep this business up." And she told me, if it's when people ask her stuff, if it's not a fuck yes, it's a fuck no. Like, it has to be like immediately yes, I'll do it, and immediately, like, if it's like something I'm like, I don't know. I can like. Then it's no. It's just no.
I love that concept.
And honestly, when I implement that, I leave myself so much space and time for like things I really want to do. And that could be my health, like going to the gym. Because when I fill my schedule up every morning, with I can't never get to the gym, and then I'm rushing, and so it's kind of like it's just no right now. It may be like not right now, but that balance have has been very beneficial for me, and it leaves me room for like really big yeses when someone brings me something like really good, and I'm like, oh yes, because I don't have my schedule filled up with a bunch of stuff I ain't really want to do anyway.
Right. And that comes with learning how to set boundaries, honestly. Like
Yeah,
learning how
I
to
mean
set
it's
boundaries,
hard.
girl, what of yes, it is.
It's
It's
hard,
extremely hard.
and I do have a supportive partner. Like my husband supports me like no other. You know what I'm saying? So that helps too a lot. Um, because I'm able to do things sometimes, like especially in the evenings or weekends or something like that, with with his support. But also my kids do go to daycare, and now they'll get sick in a minute or something happened in a minute. But I just like being flexible. I try to be as flexible as I can be. I try to take things like virtually as much as I can. Um, and then having like a cleaner and a meal prep service and things helps too, because just as a woman, period, not even being in business, it's a lot. And
Girl,
um, so whatever helps me helps everybody.
I
So
know that's
I do a
right.
lot of that just to like give myself a break from it all.
Yeah. I saw this post yesterday on it was on Instagram, and it was like, what's something that you do that what rich people do but you ain't rich yet? And I was like, get my laundry done.
Yeah,
I have somebody come clean my house. I
yeah,
call my babysitter if I'm too sleepy in the morning time and have her come pick my son up for school.
yeah.
Whatever, if I can buy back my time, take my money. If I could free up some time through currency, yeah, I'm gonna do that. Tiff, you have talked a lot
Yeah, absolutely.
about how you are teaching, different business owners and kind of just mentoring people. Is there a way for small business owners to get in contact with you if they need some direction, or is that something that's off the table for you right now? Is that a fuck yes or a
Yeah,
fuck no?
that's a fuck no. And only because these are things through like the college or accelerators or something that I've been just brought in on. But what I will say is that I'm really working this year to get some more help with on my team, cuz I think the first thing is just the foundational resources.
Yes.
Meaning like LinkedIn. And I think a lot of people think that LinkedIn is not it, but when I say $80,000 LinkedIn, absolutely, that's where most of the communications have come from. But if you think about it, I'll tell people this: if you go to a networking event, and are you going to add them on your personal Facebook? Probably not. Are you going to
Mm-mm.
add them on your Instagram? Maybe, but y'all may not even interact. And then you may exchange like little virtual hello cards or whatever. But are you really gonna call that person? And
Right.
to be intentional, add them on LinkedIn. Like that helps keep the conversation going. I've met like the CEO of this or the VP of this LinkedIn. Like they'll add you there because that's their professional Facebook, quote unquote. And that's how you can keep in contact. And then a lot of times, if I've seen someone else win something, I'll sign up for like the next year. So as soon as it opens next year, like their email comes and boom, you can apply then. Um, but all the foundations, whether it be Walmart, Be Good Foundation, whatever, they're on LinkedIn too. That's where they posted it majority of the time. Because otherwise, you Googling all the time looking for stuff versus just following their page. And when the opportunity opens up, there it is. So I think if anything, it's just like I can help once you've started and help you kind of figure figure it out and get it going a little better. But the accelerators and the cohorts, those are your best places. Even if you get 5 grand for doing 8 to 12 weeks, you will learn a lot. I've taken a lot of accelerators and spent a lot of time in classes just learning different things
I
first.
didn't even know what that was. And let me just say how grateful I am for you coming on this podcast today, because I have been looking into grants and different startups for specifically for a podcast, and it all started with my curious ass getting on Google saying, "Hey, can you get a grant for a podcast?" And it was
And a lot
like,
of times it's just business. It's not even the type of business.
"Yep,
Like it's not the type of business. It may be for Black women. I always think, what has well, I'm a mom, I'm a wife, I'm a Black woman, or I'm a Black person, I'm a Black woman. So I look for grants for Black women. I look for grants for Black people. I look for grants for women. I look for grants for people in Texas. I look for veteran grants. So I hit all those wikis because that's all the things that I have.
right, right, exactly." What advice, before I let you go, what
Hmm.
advice would you give a service member or a veteran or a Black owned or woman owned business that's just getting started? And that you can go whatever direction you want to go with that question.
I probably would say to vets, mainly because that's me and my husband's story, and he works in tech, so he didn't become an entrepreneur, but we both still struggle transitioning out and really, especially unwinding like the mindset of like the control in a way
Mm-hmm.
when it's really like open terrain to do whatever the hell you want to do.
Yep.
Work wherever you want to work, live wherever you want to live, like giving yourself free time to explore like who you are and your skills to hone in on. It's contract work out there. It's so many resources for us to do what we're really good at in so many different capacities. And I think we forget that because someone has told us this is a blueprint for so long. So
Yeah.
I would say try to really get out of that and figure out your own lane to like be in.
Most definitely. Miss Tiffany, it has been a pleasure. Thank you so much. I want to give you your flowers again. Thank you so, so much. We are proud of you. We are rooting for you. So loud, so proud. Every time I see a tall girl, I be like, "Have you ever heard of TJL? Let me show
Thank
you
you,
her. Let
girl.
me
I
show you."
appreciate it.
Tell the people
I
where they can
definitely
reach you at.
appreciate it.
Of course.
So you can reach me at tjlcollection.com, my website, or TJ underscore collection or TJL underscore collection on Instagram. I'm on Tiffany Jones-Lewis on Facebook and LinkedIn because I like my business connections.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where you can find us.
Amazing, amazing. And those will be linked in the show notes. And y'all, she already done said it's a fuck no. So don't be sliding in my good sis inbox asking all them questions. She already done told y'all she ain't doing no mentoring.
I
Okay.
wish.
Okay. This is another great episode in honor of Women's History Month of the Six Figure Vet podcast. Six Figure Vet is out. If you are a veteran, active duty service member, or civilian that is currently in a mental health crisis or suffers from mental health issues, please dial 988. Trained crisis responders are available 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, and the calls are completely confidential. Again, that number is 988. Veterans and service members, press 1. You don't have to suffer in silence.
Quantum Records.